Welcome to another season of Coop Dreams. After 8 years, we've still got the farmhouse, plenty of land around the farmhouse, and a host of farm animals. Chickens, turkeys, rabbits, goats, cows, bees, and one very loud guinea. We also have a cat, William Wallace. He's our farm manager, and he also oversees security. So keep joining us, laughing and learning, right here on Coop Dreams.
Last time on Coop Dreams.
The time had come for the pregnant goats to have their kids. We were successful in breeding 3 of the 5 does, Jan, Josie, and Sweet Pammy. Jan was the first kid, and of course, it was a buck. A cute little brown and black one that we named Pat Tillman. He had white markings behind his ears, just like his dad, Force.
So I had a big evening, or early morning, about 3:30 in the morning. Jan gave birth to this little buck over here. As big as Jan is and was, I thought she was gonna have 3 or 4 in her. But instead we got one big, healthy buck. Now it's just resting up, right? And then we'll have a spa day for you tomorrow where we'll get you all cleaned up, okay? Okay.
Josie and Pammy had taken their sweet time, so we occasionally let them out of the barn for a little exercise and socializing. A couple of days after Pat Tillman's arrival, Josie finally went into labor in the early morning and had a little black doe. Like Jan, Josie only had one kid, whom we named Amelia Earhart. What a cutie. Mostly black with a solid white crown on her head like her mama. And, like Jan's buck, she also had little white markings behind her ears just like her daddy. After more than a week of waiting and worrying for Sweet Pammy, she finally went into labor and brought 2 little cute does into the world. One was mostly white with black markings we named Karen Blixen, and the other, all brown, named Charlotte Davy. How exciting to have 4 kids. 3 does and a buck. It wasn't as many as we thought we were going to have, but it was the perfect number for adding to the herd, so we didn't have to worry about selling any. But just a couple days after Pammy gave birth to her 2 cute does, Elsa finally gave birth to her own not-so-little calf down in the wooded island in the cow pasture. Oh man, talk about cuteness. This little calf, Mia, was all brownish red with a white hairy halo on her head that was a reminder of her dad, Weston. It didn't take long for her to get around exploring a little bit while never straying too far away from Mama. And Elsa would let her know when she needed to get back to her. It was comforting to see Anna and Matilda accept Mia without any issues. Eventually, it seemed that Matilda and Mia buddied up like a couple of little sisters. Elsa remained her bossy self, and all seemed right in the cow world. Although we had been expecting the new goat and cow babies, we didn't know how many or who would have what, and the reality of their arrivals brought a whole new look and feel to the very full farm. Amid all this fun on the home front, we had an exciting road trip scheduled that would give us a break from farm activities for a couple of days. We headed eastward for our 17th Coops for Troops presentation to a deserving family in North Carolina, the Breuer family.
The last item for the Coops for Troops presentation, there is just enough space. We could not fit another gift in here.
We packed up an SUV with a ton of gifts from our sponsors, along with items our viewers and followers contributed.
Brian is actually deployed right now, so this is the first active duty Coops for Troops presentation. I'm going to interview the family, talk to them a bit, put this awesome coop together, and then give them our 17th Coops for Troops presentation. Awesome to spend the day with you. This is a gift for your family, gift for Brian, gift for you guys to all connect. Want to thank you, Gracie, Peggy, Hunter, and then obviously our friends from Rent the Chicken, Todd, Rebecca, and Joni for helping us assemble this coop. Got some great gifts. You have my cell number, you have my email, so when you get stuck on what some of these things are,
Just give me a call, I'll walk you through them. With the first leg of our trip completed, we hit the road northward for our visit the next day with Joel Salatin of Polyface Farms in Swope, Virginia. With several seasons of farm fun under my belt, I have really been gaining a desire to travel farther down the path of productive homesteading, self-sufficiency, and sustainability. I've had several good mentors along the way that preach the importance of maintaining good soil health and utilizing rotational grazing of livestock. We have 4 cows now in the lower pasture, so that seemed like a good place to start. The foursome is Anna, her daughter Matilda, the ever-bossy Elsa, and her daughter Mia. They currently graze freely in a large fenced area. The plan is to divide it into smaller sized paddocks so they can feed and poop in a defined area, and then rotating them out to give the grass time to recover and regenerate after each use. Before getting in too deep, I wanted to see firsthand how my homesteading hero, Joel Salatin, manages his farm and see what I could learn from him. Joel Salatin is an American farmer and advocate for sustainable, holistic farming practices. He's probably best known for his 550-acre Polyface farm in Swope, Virginia, which is recognized worldwide as one of the leading examples of regenerative agriculture. The name Polyface, meaning farm of many faces, is a marvel of efficiency and the wonder of innovative rotational farming that creates an environment where animals never have to be vaccinated or injected with hormones. I realize that my small 32-acre farm by comparison is a drop in the bucket, but the principles are similar and you have to start somewhere. I was really hoping that being able to see his operation would inspire me to do something similar with my chickens and cows, but on a much smaller scale. Joel is really friendly and believes in transparency, welcoming anyone to visit his farm at any time. He says he has no trade secrets, no locked door, and every corner is camera accessible. Perfect. The 4-generation family farm is in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley and has 4 generations living on it. Joel is 2nd generation, but the day-to-day operations are handled by his son. For my immediate interest, they produce quality grass-fed beef and pastured poultry and eggs, chickens and turkeys. But they also do pork, rabbits, and forestry products. They don't do anything conventionally. They don't use chemical fertilizer, never planted a grass seed, or plowed or disked a field. Like others have told me, Joel says it's all about the soil. If the earthworms are happy, everything else falls in place. That goal drives how they handle manure, where they put animals, and how they handle the landscape. Soil health drives everything. I'm going to be a sponge while touring Polyface Farm. Our first stop after we arrived was to the goats, or what I thought were the goats, but they turned out to be sheep. The way that they browsed reminded me of our goats. We first talked of how he came to be such a big-time regenerative, rotational grazing, organic farmer.
Is this the land that your parents bought in 61?
Yeah. Over here and up the mountain is the 550 original acres. There was originally 160 open and 390 forested. And in the first 10 years, we reforested 60 acres and dropped it down to 100.
In 61, this had to be...
Oh, well, you didn't know my dad. and you know, one of the, the tragedy of my life is that he's still not, mom's still alive, but that he hasn't been around to enjoy his legacy. But the blessing is that I grew up in this home that embraced different. And our family, we relished being a maverick. And I every day I'm just so thankful that I grew up in a family that really didn't care what other people said. Really didn't care. And so Dad was very much, most Mom and Dad were mavericks that way. They were very independent-minded thinkers. And so my grandfather, Dad's dad, was a charter subscriber to Rodale's Organic Gardening and Farming magazine in 1948. You know, Rodale came out with that. Then 1950, Andre Voisin came out with grass productivity. He's still the Bible of managed grazing. Well, Dad got a hold of some of that material. He was an avid reader, and I still appreciate, you know, the books that I have on the shelf that, you know, that have his signature in them from, you know, 1948, 49, 50. Avid reader, and so he was.
Joel talked highly of his parents, who actually moved to Venezuela to develop their unique farming practices. As we headed out to the chicken tractors, he shared that they came back here for Joel's birth and then returned to Venezuela, only to find out that their land had been seized by the government.
But I was only here 6 weeks. You know, they came back and had me and then went right straight back. No,
the Venezuela place bought this.
Yeah. Well, they didn't sell it. The government expropriated it, lost everything.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No. And that's one reason Dad died early, I'm convinced. He never got over it. He loved the country, he loved the people, he loved the language, loved the culture. Loved having bananas and papayas in the backyard. Oh yeah, it was devastating. He was 39, and I remember when I hit 39, and I thought, man, you know, if I got chased out with machine guns, would I start over? Yeah, and lost everything, would I start over? And so, you know, kind of the older I get, the better he was, kind of thing. The older I get, the better I was. Okay. So I can move one of these and show you how we move them.
I've wondered that, because how do you do that without, you know, crushing a chicken?
Oh, well, let me, we'll go over here where the dolly is and I'll.
Oh boy, we were moving onto a chicken tractor while asking a lot of questions.
Do we have predators? Yeah, once in a blue moon, but not much. I mean, yeah, you gotta work at getting under here. You gotta dig a while. Most predators are fairly lazy. They're kind of opportunistic. They come along, and if they can find something, and that's what these little wood boards are on the top. Those are what we call plugs. So if, you know, when they're real small, if there's a depression in the ground, we can lay that on the depression.
I got you.
To plug that little depression. There's really nothing around that can tear up the shelter except for a bear. But foxes, coyotes, to my knowledge, we've never lost a chicken to a coyote, ever. Foxes, yes. The biggest predators are, you know, raccoons are the biggest ones. And of course, ariel. But you know, in all the years, we've only had one hawk ever gets inside one of these, ever, in 50 years. So you know, it's just not a problem.
Why at an angle?
Okay, at an angle, first of all, it's so that the next shelter can run so you cover every single square foot. If they were side by side, then you have to leave 3 feet of walk around room, and you have a zebra stripe field, and you wouldn't be covering every square foot. You'd take way more room. And so by staggering them, we can run them. We can cover every square foot. Number two, if we get a torrential rain and you get surface runoff, the runoff from each shelter is not going to go into the next one, and so you have a sanitation issue for a downpour surface runoff.
The chickens are obviously working their part of the rotational grazing, scratching, pecking, and pooping while they move. They are clearly an integral part of the field's rotations.
We just ran sheep on this. We mowed all this with sheep, with the flock of sheep. They were just in and mowed this all. We took a second cutting of hay off of it. We mowed a second cutting.
Already you've got 2 cuttings?
Yeah. So we grazed it, cows, grazed it, sheep, 2 cuttings of hay. Now we're running chickens on it, and you can see we're irrigating now. We'll bring this back, and we'll get another grazing. At least one grazing yet, you know, this year.
Are those black irrigation things, do those move? Or what are those little black things?
That's the K-line system from New Zealand. It's the K-line. K stands for Kiwi. Kiwi. We've got 4 of them going right now, and so we can get 2 inches of water on 2 acres a day. And
how does it move?
You just grab the back one with the 4-wheeler, and it's got a little. We got a little rope on it, with a little hook hooked to the back of the
So you
four-wheel.
have to move it. It doesn't move automatically.
No, it doesn't move automatically, but it's completely. But it takes 2 minutes to move it. You just
You can get them here, or you had to get it from New Zealand.
There's an American distributor. All right, let's go move one of these shelters.
As we moved on to see one of these tractors or shelters, we came upon a water tub in the middle of the field.
The most unappreciated, unknown infrastructure development on this farm is 8 to 10 miles of buried water line that gravity feeds from permaculture style high ponds up in the mountain that we've built.
Real.
No electricity, no switches. As long as gravity works, we got water, and you can see the pressure. Yeah,
I read somewhere that in the mornings you come and you drink out of the cow water every day to inoculate yourself against.
everything gets blown out of proportion.
Well, I
drink out of the water trough routinely, but not when it's pond water, when it's well water.
Okay.
So it's got to be either well or spring, or it's got to be clean water. And then yes, I do drink out of it whenever I can to keep my microbiome properly.
And you wouldn't do this because this
is pond water,
which has all sorts of stuff that.
Yeah, but you know, if I was real thirsty, I'd drink it. I sure would. But there's no sense in being
no reason to risk it.
Necessary. Yeah. So
I'm glad we had that clarification, because
yeah,
now I know.
Yeah.
Pond, no. What about a creek?
I then asked about the familiar looking buckets.
So we have a dip bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So we dip and carry.
And just carry and fill up all those buckets on top.
The reason we have a dip bucket is because you don't want to dip. You don't want to dip with the same buckets you carry, because these are set down on chicken manure routinely.
And then you'd be putting
chicken manure in the water. So you have designated dip bucket, carry buckets.
Do you figure that stuff out on the front end, or do you figure that stuff out because something happened? And I figure things out after I make the mistake. But do you see that ahead of time where it's like, okay, we can't do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we've just always been. I mean, you got to think about. Look, we don't use drugs, we don't use antibiotics and all that stuff, but you do have to think about sanitation.
So your animals have no shots. Your animals have
no vaccines. No, they don't even wear masks. All right, so we'll move a shelter here. In fact, we can move a couple. So the tool is this dolly, and once we replace Cargill and Tyson and Pilgrim's Pride and Purdue, this little tool will be available at every hardware store in the country. Okay.
Did you make this? Is this your?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now my engineer brother designed it. So when we first did this, we didn't have a dolly. It took 2 people to move it. But it's awkward. It's awkward. The front guy is not too bad, but the back guy, you're out here and you're kind of your feet are buttoned up, but it's just hard. And so initially, my wife and I would do them, Teresa and I, and then one day she kind of wrenched her back a little bit doing it, and so I built a dolly that we called it the 2-man dolly. By that time, Daniel was, he was about 6 years old, and it was more like a dolly you'd move a refrigerator. Okay, so you had to pull it down and you had to hold it down, and he was about 6 years old, and he could just hang on it and dangle, and I could pull the other end. We could get along.
Enough weight to keep it.
So when my brother came home once, I said, Art, and he's the engineer. I said, I got to have a 1-man dolly. I got to be able to do this myself. If we're gonna really make this fly, we got to do it myself. And so he of course had every kind of Rube Goldberg design you could imagine, and finally went to the most simple thing you can imagine, which is just this. So you just come up here, stick your ends under there, and you basically just use this as a lever. Now you're on wheels.
Get out.
Now
I would
you're
have
on
never figured that's how it went.
Now you're on wheel, okay? So then you go up here. Hey, birdie. And the birds just rolls and the birds just walk.
And they never get crushed in the back.
To watch episodes on the go, be sure to download the Coop Dreams app. And for even more fun, like Coop Dreams on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and visit our website at www.coopdreams.tv.
Most people are, I want the latest gadget, the latest fashion, I don't want to look different. It's all about homogeneity. What's the biggest impediment to a young person entering farming?
Social media. I guarantee you it's that. They're too distracted. There's too many.
Social media.
It changes the value system.
Without starting an engine, and nothing more than this little tool.
Should patent that. You can make millions. Bam.
Yeah, you should talk to people about this stuff, you know? That's right. Read your book. Maybe think about writing a book. I'll write that down.